Look out, boxing fans. It's your boy Ash. Want to talk about the upcoming fight on the 25th. Um, I guess I'll begin with the undercard. You got Houston's own Jermell Ironman Charlo versus Gabe King Rosado. This fight has people more excited than the actual main event because what you have is you have a rugged road warrior like Rosado, proven warrior, um, trying to display his talent, his skills, his toughness against one of the young chargers in the game in Jermell Charlo. Gabe Rosado, 154 pounder, guy that had to learn on the job. I got a lot of respect for guys like that. There's been many to come through the game, from the lightweights all the way up to the heavyweights. Um, Initially, Gabe Rosado didn't start off, having these tremendous victories. When he finally got his chance to be televised, he would have that horrible outing against Alfred Angulo where he was stopped in 2 rounds. Some people think that was a premature stoppage. In my opinion, it wasn't. Maybe that first knockdown was a bit of a slip or a bit of a fluke or whatever, but he actually got hit in that first knockdown, and he never recovered from that first knockdown. And even though it wasn't ruled as a knockdown, he was hurt from it, and that's why he went down again and again afterwards, and ended up losing that fight. But he would have his opportunities after that. I mean, he would be in the ring with, I believe it happened afterwards. I forget. He was in there with Saku Powell. Saku Powell's lights out amateur from New York. Iron Horse is what they call him. And he would challenge for a world title several times. Always came up short, which is kind of wild because he was definitely pegged as a future world champion initially when he made his splash into the boxing industry as a 54 pounder, southpaw, strong. But Gabe Rosado would also have a couple of other fights and basically gave him his name for being able to upset the apple cart, bringing toughness to the ring. Highlighting once again that Philadelphia is able to make middleweights as their history indicates, and not just with Bernard Hopkins. But due to the fact that he didn't have a high-profile promoter, he wasn't represented by the big muscle in the boxing game, if you will. And he had to take fights on short notice. He had to take fights when they were basically given. He wasn't able to have like full training camps for a lot of fights. And most importantly, he would have to leave the division to get fights 5 pounds north or 6 pounds north at the middleweight division, which I always commend. And the reason being is not easy going from 54 to 60. I understand, guys have done it many times in the past, but in boxing, in terms of the divisions, there are certain humps you got to get past when you go from certain divisions to another division, another hump, if you will. I know that's not a boxing word, that's an ass your knuckle word. 40 to 47, there's a hump there. A substantially bigger guy can make 147 pounds. And if you don't believe me, I say this all the time in my videos, how a substantially bigger guy can make a bigger weight. Who co-signed what I just said in his own way was Keith Thurman when 78 interviewed him. He kept saying, I'm a real welterweight. All the other guys are not welterweights. You know what I'm saying? He's a real welterweight. He's a substantially bigger guy that can make that weight comfortably, and that is his weight. A lot of the other guys came up in weight because it was a little struggle to make 40, and they didn't want to struggle no more just to make, just to sweat off those last 1.5, 2 to 1.5 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Keith Thurman can drop that weight and focus on the skills and make weight comfortably, even though he is a substantially bigger guy. He is a welterweight. That's what I'm saying. It's a hump there. Another example is when Zab Judah years ago went up in weight. I got many of examples. I'll only give you a couple. Zab Judah went up in weight years ago. He had fought Demarcus Chop Chop Corley for the WBO title at 140 and vacated it afterwards. That's the same title Kelson Pinto would win, a vacant title, who would eventually lose it to Miguel Cotto. He vacated that title and went up to challenge for Corey Spinks. Corey Spinks, we all know, he's not a puncher. Punches hurt. We all know punches hurt. And if you don't know, you need to know that important fact about boxing. I don't give a damn if they labeled a puncher or not. Punches hurt. You need to know that. Please know that. After I don't know how many years of being online or on the radio or breaking down fights, that's been consistent. I've always said that. They hurt. Okay? They hurt. But he's not a knockout artist. It takes a special innate ability to just flat out unglue somebody with a shot. It's God given. Okay? You can train for strength all you want, but either you are born with legit power or either you got it or you don't. Point blank, period. You're born a puncher. You're not born a champion. You know how people say some people are just born to be a champion? No one's born champion. You're born a puncher, but champions are made in the gym. Nobody's born a champion. You know what I'm saying? Champions are made, not born. Punchers are born, not made. Understand that. Well, anyway, he went in the ring with Corey Spinks, and Corey Spinks won. It was a pretty close fight, but one thing Zab said about that fight is, I could feel his size when I was in the ring with him. Even though Zab made the weight comfortably and he looked pretty good as a 47-pounder, you know what I'm saying? He looked like he was handling the weight quite well. But he said, I felt his size against me in the ring. And the reason why is he was fighting a substantially bigger guy at that weight, okay? Well, anyway, I commend Gabe for going up to 60. And when he went up to 60, he fought one of the hardest punchers at the weight, which is the boogeyman everybody's high on. And now, I'm not going to lie. It's hard not to like Triple G. Point blank, period. It's hard not to like him. But, I'm still going to hold my verdict on him. He seems like he's the goods. He is just flat out destroying everybody he's getting in the ring with. But there are still legit guys at 60 I want him to face before I crown him. You know what I'm saying? And not guys coming up in weight. I hear he's about to fight Kirkland. I mean, I'd watch it. I'm not going to hate on the fight. I mean, if it's good money for both guys and they don't mind doing it, who am I to say, hey, don't do it? But I want to see Triple G fight P-Rog, Gill, Sturm. He can even get in there with an awkward guy like Sam Solomon, who has his record is not pleasing to the eye, but he is a tough outing. The guy is durable and he comes to fight. I like to see him get in there with a lot of 60-pounders that he haven't faced yet. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't really been facing a lot of tough 60-pounders. I mean, he has been fighting some middleweights as of late, and guys who have fought at a heavier weight like Curtis Stevens. He's fought at 68. He's fought at 75. You know what I'm saying? And he destroyed. Well, that was a very good fight. Took him a long time to break Curtis Stevens down. That was probably one of the best outings for Curtis Stevens in a losing effort. But he showed a lot of toughness in that fight. And Triple G also proved some stuff in that fight too. But anyway, Gabe went up and fought Triple G, and he gave a good account of himself. But again, Triple G would reroute him and let him know that 60 pounds is for the bigger boys. But he didn't go back down in weight. He stayed up there. He fought J. Leon Love. Gave Love a very tough fight. Hurt Love at least about once in that fight, and had him backpedaling, and it made for a very, very, very close fight. Of course, they would award it to Leon Love in a controversial decision, but that decision was later overturned when it was found out that Leon tested positive for a diuretic. Um, Diuretic, for those that don't know, it enhances your ability to pee more fluids out of your body. And most people who use diuretics use it just, to maybe get off a couple of extra pounds so they can make weight in terms of fighters that use diuretics. So he didn't go back down to 54 again. He will stay there and fight the WBO champion, Peter Quillin. Peter Quillin, not the very best boxer in the world, but he's a tough guy. He got a tremendous heart. He takes a good shot, and he has a huge right hand. Good power in that right hand. He's put many guys down with that right hand. You know what I'm saying? And in that fight, again, it was a close fight towards the end of the fight. Well, Quillin took the early rounds, in my opinion. Put Gabe down once. I think it may have been a slip. I don't remember. It could have been a real knockdown. But flash knockdown at best. And Gabe began to come on late. Again, he cut again. And as he was coming on, the cut was getting worse. Some people think it was a controversial stoppage. I've seen many fights being stopped on cuts. It's just part of the game. And the way Gabe's cut was in that fight, another one or two punches could have opened that mug up even more so. And that could have been his career. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I know Gabe wants to finish the fight. He's a fighter. He wants to get down and lay down. If he loses, he'd rather lose on his back than to lose at the hands of the officials stopping the fight or the doctor stopping the fight. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, but at the same time, me being around the game as long as I've been around, it's not the first time I've seen that. I mean, Vitaly Klitschko had a bad cut against Lennox Lewis. Same thing. He wanted to finish. The momentum was swinging in his direction at the time of the stoppage. But at the end of the day, he's had a tremendous career after that particular fight. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if Lennox hit that cut a couple of more times, you never know. That could have been his career. Look at David Reed in his eye. Getting hit in that eye, he lost the nerves in his eye, and then he could barely even open it. And that was a tremendous career cut short because of things that happen in the ring, in that square circle. A lot of stuff can happen in that ring, and you got to err on the side of safety. Even if the fans don't think it's in the best benefit, the fighters don't think it's in the best benefit, what have you. The officials are there for a reason. The doctor is there for a reason. Let them do their job. If it leaves you with a bad taste, so be it. Because they're the ones that's trained to do it, not you, not me. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Gabe would lose that fight, and now he's going back to 54 to fight a guy who he deems is untested in Charlo. And what Gabe does well, I mean, he's a Philadelphia middleweight, junior middleweight, same thing. Pretty much, you know what I'm saying? There was no 54-pound division years and years ago. But anyway, he's around middleweight. He's fought at middleweight, so he's a middleweight. He's handled the weight a little bit well while he was there. So probably should have stayed up at 62 because he had the frame for it. It's just when you first go up in weight, your best bet isn't to fight the very best guy at that weight because there are a lot of intangibles that you're going to be up against when you're going against a guy that's bigger than you, number one, because the good big man beats the good little man. Okay, but then again, at the same time, you want to make sure you adjust to the weight well against a guy who's probably not as tough or not as good. That way, when you finally adjust to the weight, then you can actually challenge the best guy at the weight. And, it's not saying you're going to have the upper hand, but you kind of even the scale a little bit when you're facing him. But he's coming back down to 54. There's no guarantee he's going to have success making the weight comfortably. He says the weight's not a problem as he's been in training camp. I don't know. He's been in 63 times now. He hasn't fought at 54 in over a year. So that means he haven't made that weight in over a year. And that means he haven't fought at that weight in over a year. So it's a lot of things that he's going to probably have to overcome in this fight that he didn't foresee before signing the contract. But like I said, he's pretty crafty. He's a bit crafty. He moves. Uh, he uses angles quite well. I think his time in training camp with Bernard Hopkins have served him well on how to utilize different angles of the ring. He has a deceiving right hand, a pretty big punch in the right hand. And even though he can box, he's an okay boxer. He leads with the jab initially. He'll abandon that jab, trying to close the distance on his opponent. And as he tries to close the distance on his opponent, he's giving him different looks. He's giving a lot of upper body movements. But if there was ever a time to get your punches off against Gabe Rosado, it's right then and there, because he's wide open for big shots. And what I've seen from him in the past, like in his fight with Charles Whitaker, even though that was a fight that he won, Gabe is susceptible to a left hook. You know what I'm saying? He's susceptible to a left hook. He's susceptible to good jabs. If long as a guy is sticking to his fundamentals and not being gun shy against Gabe when he's coming at him because they're intimidated by him, then you can have some success against against Gabe Rosado. And one thing about Jermell is not gun shy. Number one. Number two, he has a sneaky left hook. And number three, he's fundamentally sound. He's a classy boxer. He's a guy who can use the whole ring. But more times than not, he stands in front of his opponent and boxes him from the outside behind that beautiful Charlo jab. Okay? He throws most of his punches straight, a la Muhammad Ali. And he mixes his punches probably not as good as his brother. But if you saw his last outing, you wouldn't be able to tell that, because he was really mixing his punches up and down like a true professional, going to the head, going to the body, taking whatever was given like it was just a gift, like the opponent was just gift wrapping these shots to him. And he looked great in that fight. This particular fight, people think is going to be similar to Demetrius Hopkins. He being, a product of a Philly fighter, Bernard Hopkins. And I don't think so. I don't think Rosado can use the ring as well as Demetrius Hopkins. Demetrius Hopkins can box from the outside. And the biggest problem about Demetrius Hopkins has been the fact that he's a headhunter. He don't go to the doggone body. So when you watch the tape, it's easy to devise a game plan against him. Not necessarily to get your shots off, because he moves so damn much and he will stink the place out. But you know where his shots are going. You know they're only going upstairs. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Gabe is a guy who learned on the job. Demetrius been in the game probably a lot longer than he. And, he's learned from his uncle a lot longer than he. So in this particular fight, a lot of people seem to think if Jermell boxes, then he'll have an easier time defeating Gabe as opposed to taking the fight game to the inside. I agree with that. I think if Jermell gets behind that jab, he'll be able to frustrate him with that jab. It's going to be difficult to get around it, and there will come a point where Gabe's going to come after him. But you can tame a guy with a jab, and once he tries to get the read on that jab and the speed and timing of that jab, all you got to do is double it up, triple it up, make it look different, and he'll always be frustrated. He'll make mistakes, and he'll walk into that straight right hand that Jermell throws so well. At the same time, if Gabe Rosado begins to put pressure on Jermell and Jermell becomes gun shy, it could be a more difficult fight than what's expected. Gabe Rosado has an ability to close the distance on guys and give them all these different upper body movements and looks, and they become timid in their offense, and they allow him to get in their chest. And once he does, he finds home for that big right hand. He starts to rub guys up and make it a Rosado type fight. Any of these outcomes can happen, but what people don't understand about Jermell is, even though he has not displayed it a lot on television, Jermell and Jamal got inside game. They can fight on the inside as well as on the outside, but their typical fight plan is to box from the outside because that's what they do best. So in this particular fight, I think if the weight doesn't kill Rosado, I think being in the ring with a much classier, fundamentally sound boxer will. I think Jermell is not going to be intimidated by Gabe Rosado, and I think Jermell is not. If he's shorter than Rosado, he's not short about too much, and I think he has just enough reach to get to Rosado and enough speed to get to Rosado and probably give Rosado a lot of problems. Now, is my breakdown, is my pick going to be from a biased point of view? Could be. I've been knowing the Charlos for years, and I ain't gonna lie, them my dudes. You know what I'm saying? And I got nothing but support behind them, and I know what they can do. Um, I watched these guys come up, even when Omar Henry was getting all the attention. As far as guys in the gym, these guys was just as good, if not better, because they all sparred each other. And Omar Henry used to get with a lot of guys in sparring, but I've never seen him just get with the Charlos. You know what I'm saying? Ever. And I've seen them spar guys like Danny Jacobs, a lot of guys. You know what I'm saying? But I've never seen them get with the Charlos. So uh, I'm gonna have to go with Jermell. I think Jermell will win a real good decision. Um, I think he just has a whole lot more in his arsenal, and I think if he just sticks to the game plan drawn up by Ronnie Shields, Hall of Fame trainer, he should be successful. You know, don't try to fight Gabe's fight. Fight your fight. Let Gabe fight stupid. If somebody's gonna fight out of character, let it be him. But I think the combination of Jermell being fundamentally sound and technically sound, I think that and the weight is gonna kill Gabe. And I think he has the ability to open up because that scar tissue around that eye is probably gonna be to his detriment because Jermell is gonna touch it with that right hand. So I think Gabe got a lot to overcome in this fight. If he beat Jermell, I'll give him a lot of credit. Um, I just don't see it happening, and I think most do. So let's see what happens until the fight concludes. I'm gonna rock with them Charlo boys. It's your boy Ash. If you agree, disagree, leave it in the comment section or make a video, and I'll get with you. Deuce. All right, man. Now for the main event, a comebacking former world champion, well, actually current IBF 140-pound champion Lamont Peterson, fighting in his hometown in a comeback fight against a very hungry challenger, Deary John. Lamont Peterson coming off of a knockout loss to Lucas Matisse in a fight I thought he fought very uncharacteristically. Um, he tried to box with Lucas Matisse. And yes, as he came up through the ranks, he didn't always walk guys down with that peekaboo defense, trying to fight on the inside. He actually used to box from the outside, like when he was coming up, fighting on ESPN and small shows like that. But he began to settle into his style, um, getting a really good fight, fighting in a guy's chest, throwing tremendous body shots, and just basically taking, the warrior spirit out of his opponent. And, he believed the hype against Lucas Matisse, even though it wasn't hype. Lucas Matisse can actually punch, as you can see what he's done to guys in the past. And I guess the game plan going into that fight was to not give him a target by walking him down underneath those earmuff type defense, the peekaboo defense. And it didn't work. When you're accustomed to fighting one way after so long of not fighting another way, when you try to go back and do what you initially did, it's not second nature. You know what I'm saying? And you could tell when he was trying to box on the move, it wasn't second nature. He wasn't doing it like he used to do it. Lucas Matisse found the opening and clipped him and ended the fight early with a really big shot. So a lot of people say Lamont Peterson was exposed. I don't say the exposed. Well, you can't win them all. You know what I'm saying? When you got two great fighters in the ring, somebody has got to take that L. Just because they took that L doesn't mean they were exposed. That is a boxing forum bullshit. That's not boxing. You don't learn that in the gym. Ain't no trainer or anything going to explain the fight game to you like that. You know what I'm saying? That's boxing forum bullshit. That's internet boxing. He was not exposed. You know what I'm saying? You don't become champion just to become exposed. Even Amir Khan, who I really don't favor at all, was not exposed. You cannot win every fight. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way that it is. But like I said before, he's fighting in his hometown. He's fighting against a hungry challenger. And we know what Lamont Peterson can do. He's very strong. He trains insanely hard. Throws great body shots. Picks his shots well. Places his shots well. Protects himself well, especially in close quarters. But he can be a bit of a plotter when he begins to walk guys down. And guys with absolute speed, not absolute speed, but guys with speed and good boxing ability could give him some difficulty. And De'Aaron John is a pretty good boxer. He mixes his punches up well. He is fairly strong. He's absolutely ripped. And he has to be taught how to lose. He was a good amateur. He's pretty sound from what I've seen. He does have a tendency to lower his hands a little bit. And you know me, I'm no fan of the Roy Jones School of Boxing. Even though Roy was able to get away with it for years because Roy had crazy speed. He had featherweight speed at a much higher division. And he was able to get away with a lot of things that are not fundamentally sound. And that's just the way it is. That was God given. And most people who saw that and became a fan of that, a lot of guys began to train like that and try to implement that, and it didn't work like that. And, that's why I say I'm not a fan of the Roy Jones School of Boxing, because Roy got away with stuff that was not fundamental. And in this game, you need solid fundamentals to progress your career long after your attributes begin to slow down a little bit. Look at Bernard Hopkins. He's not as fast as he used to be. He's not nearly as clever and as durable as he used to be because of the way he fights now. He throws a couple of shots here and there, trot around the ring, stuff like that. The old Bernard Hopkins used to maul your ass into a corner and beat on you and get dirty and elbow and hit you below the belt on the ref's blind side so he couldn't see it. Just bring it to that dark side. You know what I'm saying? He's not the same fighter that he used to be, but he's still very clever. He still has his ring savvy, still has his ring IQ, and he has solid fundamentals. Well, anyway, De'Aaron John is a pretty good puncher too as well, and then he's adept at finding wherever the weakness is and try to take full advantage of it. He hasn't fought a whole slew of talented fighters at the weight, but the guys that he did fight, you have to take notice of it, like Leonardo Tyner. If you know Leonardo Tyner, he always comes to fight. Whether he's taking fights on short notice or he's had time to prepare, Leonardo Tyner comes to fight. And he took it out of Leonardo Tyner. I don't know what the circumstances were leading into the fight. All I know is that is a good win on your record. Whenever you fight anywhere from 140 to 147, when you're a guy on the way up. So he also fought Cleotis Pendarvis in the IBF Eliminator to fight for the title, and this was before Lamont Peterson lost to Lucas Matisse in a voluntary defense, even though that wasn't a fight at 140. That was a catchweight fight. I believe that was at 144 or 143 or something like that. It was a welterweight fight, but a catchweight fight. And it wasn't at 140, so obviously the IBF didn't sanction it as such. But this fight is for the title. It is a defense, and it is a fight that has been earned by De'Aaron John. So he's coming to win. Both guys have a lot to prove. Lamont wants to still prove that he should be considered in the mix at 140, and he's already stated he would like to fight Danny Swift Garcia. I would love to feed it. Love the feed. I would love to see that fight because that fight has action packed all over it from two skilled guys. And a win over Jean should put him in the mix clearly to be in a fight with Danny Garcia, which could potentially be and most likely will be on the undercard of Mayweather Khan. But anyway, in this fight, I see John coming to win. I see him trying to bring the fight to Lamont. I see him being very active because if you get behind those gloves long enough, Derek John is going to keep letting his hands go. But one thing about Lamont is he will find where he can get his shots in, and I think he'll be able to catch John with shots he's not used to being hit with. And I think he will block a lot of John's shots. And I think Lamont Peterson is durable enough to where the shots that John gets in, he should be able to take them well if he is protecting himself well like he usually does. And not giving up shots and, giving up openings like he did against Lucas Matisse. And I'm not ready to write off Lamont Peterson because, in my opinion, he's done a whole lot more in this game than De'Aaron John. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing. When that bell rings, none of that shit matters. Whoever has the best game plan, whoever had the best training camp, or whoever can put it all together for 36 minutes is the guy who's going to win. And I don't think Lamont Peterson is to the point where those silk sheets, when a rich fighter is sleeping on those silk sheets and the other guy's sleeping on cotton, I don't think that's gotten to Lamont Peterson to the point where his hunger's not there and the desire's not there. I think he still has a lot to prove. I think he's coming to win. I do think this will be a much harder fight than what he anticipates. And I think he's been in there with more solid competition and seen a whole lot more professionally than what Jean can actually bring to the table. And he too has fought Leonardo Tyner and beat him too in the past. So I already know what he brings to the table. This is a fight where either fighter can win. But I think Lamont Peterson has been there and done that. And I think he has a whole lot more to prove. And I think he will end up winning this fight via decision. Can I be wrong? You absolutely right. De'Aaron Jean is on the way up. He has a lot of momentum going into this fight. Everybody he's been in the ring with, he's destroying these guys, beating these guys, stopping these guys, or beating these guys by clear-cut decisions. Even in the fight with Pendarvis, he suffered a cut in that fight, and after that cut, he put that dog out there, and he ended up stopping Cleotis Pendarvis. He hit him with a big shot. Pendarvis didn't see the shot coming, and he actually was trying to get away from the shot, but it was too late. And at the same time, he put his chin up in the air, and once you put your chin up and keep it, when it's not tucked, you're not going to take a big shot very well. And he tried to pull back, and in the midst of pulling back, he put that chin up, and that was a wrap after that. So you will not catch, I don't think, let me say you will not. Well, let me not say you will not. I don't think you will catch Lamont slipping like that. I think Lamont's going to win this. I think this is going to be a very good title defense. I can be wrong. This is the prediction. What does prediction mean? It does not mean I could see into the future. You foretelling what you think may happen based on observation and experience. It's a prediction. But none of that shit matters when the bell rings. The ring is going to sort out the facts, and the guy who's better that night will emerge. And I can't wait to see who it is. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comment section. It's your boy Ash. Deuce.